Sometimes you need to fight back. I discuss with him, I teach him what is right, what is wrong. He doesn't have a social media yet. He's not interested in it. He's all into sport.
For someone as controversial as Donald Trump, having his privacy invaded isn't exactly shocking. But when the focus shifts to his son, Barron, the situation takes on a whole new level of concern. In 2022, Trump made a startling claim that during the high-profile FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago, agents went beyond searching his personal quarters and even entered his teenage son's bedroom. Why would the FBI search Barron's room? What exactly were they looking for? And did they truly believe a 16-year-old Space could be hiding classified documents? This unexpected detail raises serious questions about privacy, legal boundaries, and whether family members should be drawn into political and legal battles. Was this a necessary step in a legitimate investigation or an overreach of federal power? Today, we'll break down the facts, the speculation, and what this incident tells us about the ongoing tensions between Trump and the government. Donald Trump is a name that dominates headlines. Bold, unapologetic, larger than life. He thrives in the spotlight, drawing both admiration and criticism with every statement he makes. But while his name is known worldwide, his youngest son, Barron Trump, remains somewhat of an enigma. Unlike his father, Barron rarely appears in public, doesn't engage with social media, and has mostly been shielded from the political chaos that surrounds the Trump legacy. Yet, despite their vastly different public personas, Donald and Barron share a relationship that has intrigued many. Trump has occasionally spoken about his son in interviews, often in glowing terms, highlighting his height, intelligence, and interests. He has described Barron as a great kid and a smart one, hinting at a fatherly pride that is rarely on full display. However, compared to his older children, Ivanka, Donald Jr., and Eric, who have actively participated in their father's business and political ventures, Barron remains a quieter figure, seemingly untouched by the intense political battles that define the Trump name. Their personalities couldn't be more different. Trump's energy is brash, charismatic, and always demanding attention, while Barron appears reserved, composed, and largely uninterested in the media circus. Some say this contrast creates a natural balance between them, Trump's boldness matched with Barron's quiet demeanor. In public appearances, glimpses of their bond surface, a rare smile from Trump at his son, a proud glance during an event. But for the most part, their relationship remains a mystery to outsiders. Growing up in the Trump family is anything but ordinary. From the moment Barron was born, he was surrounded by immense wealth, luxury, and attention. While most children spend their early years in relative anonymity, Barron's every move has been watched by the media. But unlike other children of presidents, he has been kept out of political debates and campaign trails, with Melania Trump making it a priority to shield him from unnecessary exposure. Even before stepping into the White House, Barron's upbringing was unique. Raised in Trump Tower, his childhood home was a penthouse overlooking the bustling streets of Manhattan. Instead of playing in a backyard, he had a personal floor in one of the most iconic skyscrapers in the world. And yet, despite the extravagant setting, Melania emphasized a structured and disciplined environment, ensuring that Barron's childhood wasn't solely defined by privilege. Then, everything changed in 2016. When Trump won the presidency, Barron became the first boy to live in the White House since John F. Kennedy Jr. While most first children move into the residence immediately, Barron and Melania stayed in New York for several months, prioritizing his education before relocating to Washington, D.C. The White House, a symbol of power and history, became his home, a place where childhood games coexisted with the weight of political decisions being made just rooms away. Unlike his older siblings, who embraced their father's political career, Barron remained largely absent from the public stage. He didn't attend rallies, give speeches, or participate in interviews. Instead, he was seen only at major family events, standing quietly beside his parents, often looking like an observer rather than a participant in the grand political spectacle. His public appearances were rare but memorable, like the 2017 presidential inauguration, where cameras captured a young Barron trying to stay awake through the lengthy ceremonies, a reminder that, despite his circumstances, he was still just a child. Balancing life in a high-profile political family while maintaining privacy is no easy task. Every moment, no matter how small, has the potential to become a headline. A casual smile, a wave, or even a simple outfit choice could spark media debates and online speculation. And while Barron has remained out of the fray, his association with one of the most controversial figures in modern history means that, no matter how private he tries to be, he will always be under a microscope. Donald Trump's schedule as president and businessman meant that, at times, father-son moments may have been limited. But, despite Trump's busy career, there are indications that he and Barron share a close bond. Trump's occasional comments about his son suggest a sense of pride, and their few public moments together reflect a mutual understanding that doesn't need words. Some speculate that Trump sees Barron as the next generation of his legacy, while others believe Barron is forging his own path, separate from the political and business empire his father has built. So, how close are they? From the outside, it's difficult to say. Unlike Trump's other children, Barron has yet to step into the world of politics or business, making it unclear what role, if any, he will play in the future of the Trump dynasty. But one thing is certain. While Donald Trump is one of the most visible figures in the world, Barron remains one of the most mysterious. For now, he continues to grow up in a world that is both extraordinary and isolating, where the pressures of public life clash with the desire for normalcy. Whether he chooses to follow in his father's footsteps or carve his own path remains to be seen. But regardless of what the future holds, the relationship between Donald and Barron Trump is a fascinating look into the balance between power, privacy, and the ever-evolving definition of family in the spotlight. The Mar-a-Lago raid was already a headline-grabbing event, but when Donald Trump claimed that FBI agents even searched his son Barron's bedroom, the controversy reached a new level. This wasn't just about classified documents anymore. It became a story about privacy, family, and the extent of federal power. To understand why this happened, we need to go back to the raid itself. In August 2022, the FBI conducted an unprecedented search at Trump's Florida estate, Mar-a-Lago, as part of an investigation into the handling of classified government materials. The search led to the discovery of over 100 classified documents, some of which were marked as top secret. The Justice Department argued that these materials were improperly stored and should have been returned to the National Archives. Trump, on the other hand, insisted that he had the right to declassify documents and that the raid was nothing more than a politically motivated attack. While much of the media focused on the broader legal implications, one detail stood out: Trump's claim that the FBI not only went through his office and Melania's personal belongings, but even entered Barron's bedroom. He described the search as intrusive, claiming that agents rummaged through everything, leaving his son's room in disarray. But why would the FBI be interested in a teenager's bedroom? From a legal standpoint, the answer depends on the scope of the search warrant. When conducting a raid, federal agents don't just randomly decide where to look. They follow a carefully outlined search warrant approved by a judge. The warrant for Mar-a-Lago was broad, allowing agents to inspect any areas where classified documents or government records might be stored. If investigators had reason to believe that sensitive materials could be in Barron's room, then legally they had the authority to search it. But was there probable cause? That's where the debate begins. Former federal prosecutor Renato Mariotti argued that the FBI wouldn't have searched Barron's room unless there was a specific reason to do so. In an interview, he explained that law enforcement doesn't conduct unnecessary searches during high-profile investigations, especially when it involves the family members of a former president. If Barron's room was searched, it was likely because agents had information, whether from documents, witness testimony, or surveillance, that suggested something relevant to the case could be there. However, this explanation didn't sit well with many Trump supporters. For them, the idea of federal agents searching a teenager's room was not just overreach, it was personal. Critics of the raid saw this as a blatant attack on Trump's family, arguing that the search was an intimidation tactic rather than a legitimate law enforcement action. The image of agents going through Barron's belongings fueled the narrative that Trump and his inner circle were being unfairly targeted. On the other hand, legal experts and Trump's critics argued that if classified documents were truly mishandled, then no room should have been off-limits. National security takes precedence, and if there was any chance that sensitive government records were stored in private living spaces, then investigators had every right to look. The Justice Department's position was simple. No one, not even a former president, is above the law, and the search was necessary to recover materials that could pose a risk to national security. As expected, Trump wasted no time turning this into a rallying point. He framed the raid, and particularly the search of Barron's room, as further evidence of a corrupt system out to destroy him. His messaging was clear. This wasn't just about documents, it was about persecution. He portrayed himself as the victim of a politically driven FBI, accusing federal agencies of trying to silence him and his movement. This narrative played well with his base. Supporters saw the raid as proof that Trump was being unfairly targeted, while his critics argued that it was a necessary step in holding him accountable. The divide was stark, with one side seeing an abuse of power and the other seeing justice in action. Regardless of where people stood, the fact remained. Barron Trump, a 16-year-old largely removed from his father's political battles, had now been dragged into the controversy. Whether the search of his room was justified or not, it raised deeper questions. Should family members of public figures be subjected to scrutiny in legal investigations? Where is the line between enforcing the law and respecting personal privacy? And most importantly, was this truly about justice, or was it another chapter in the ongoing war between Trump and the government? As the investigation continued, one thing became clear. This story wasn't just about classified documents. It was about power, privacy, and the ever-growing divide in American politics. And at the center of it all was a teenager, caught in a battle he never signed up for. The relationship between Donald Trump and the FBI has been anything but smooth. From the moment he entered the political arena, Trump found himself at odds with federal investigators. What began as routine inquiries soon escalated into full-scale investigations, legal battles, and, ultimately, deep mistrust between Trump and the nation's top law enforcement agency. It all started during the 2016 election, when the FBI launched an investigation into possible Russian interference in Trump's campaign. As details emerged, the scrutiny intensified, leading to the infamous Mueller investigation, which examined allegations of collusion and obstruction of justice. Though the final report didn't establish clear collusion, it did outline concerning interactions between Trump's team and Russian operatives, fueling ongoing tensions between Trump and federal investigators. As his presidency continued, Trump's battles with the FBI only grew more intense. From the probe into his dealings with Ukraine, which led to his first impeachment, to the handling of classified documents after he left office, Trump repeatedly found himself the subject of investigations. And in each case, he maintained a consistent message. He wasn't just being investigated, he was being targeted. Trump often described the FBI as part of the so-called deep state, a term he and his supporters used to suggest that a hidden network of government officials was working against him. He accused federal agencies of political bias, claiming that these investigations weren't about justice, but about removing him from power. For Trump and his allies, the FBI wasn't just an institution upholding the law, it was an active player in the political game, working to undermine his presidency. This narrative was strengthened by moments that seemed to support his claims. The revelation that FBI officials had privately discussed their concerns about Trump during the Russia probe, the Steele dossier controversy, and the handling of Hillary Clinton's email investigation all became rallying points for Trump's argument that the FBI was stacked against him. He regularly took to social media and his rallies to denounce the agency, often referring to it as corrupt and out of control. But not everyone saw it that way. For many Americans, the FBI's role was clear. It was conducting necessary investigations into a public figure who consistently pushed the boundaries of legal and ethical norms. Federal agencies had a duty to look into potential misconduct, and Trump's actions, from his dealings with foreign leaders to his handling of government records, warranted scrutiny. The divide in public perception was striking. To his supporters, the FBI was a weapon used by Trump's political enemies to take him down. They believed the investigations were exaggerated, designed to keep him from running for office again. But to his critics, these investigations were proof that no one, not even a former president, was above the law. They argued that Trump's resistance to legal oversight was a sign of his disregard for democratic norms. This deep polarization only intensified when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. For Trump's base, it was further proof of government overreach. Federal agents storming his residence, searching his wife and son's rooms, all under the justification of retrieving documents. The image of government officials going through Trump's personal belongings played into his claims that he was being unfairly targeted. On the other hand, legal experts and government officials defended the raid, arguing that recovering classified documents was a matter of national security. They pointed out that Trump had been given multiple chances to return the records voluntarily and had refused, leaving authorities no choice but to take action. The clash between these two viewpoints encapsulates the broader debate over Trump's legacy. Was he a leader standing up against a corrupt system, or was he simply a politician trying to avoid accountability? And was the FBI carrying out its duties as an independent law enforcement agency, or had it become entangled in political warfare? Regardless of where one stands, one thing is clear. Trump's relationship with the FBI has permanently reshaped how Americans view federal law enforcement. For some, it has eroded trust in institutions that were once seen as above politics. For others, it has reinforced the need for checks and balances, ensuring that no leader, no matter how powerful, is beyond scrutiny. As investigations continue and Trump remains a dominant political figure, the battle between him and the FBI is far from over. Whether future inquiries will further divide the nation or bring clarity to the controversies surrounding him remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: this conflict has left a lasting impact on American politics, law enforcement, and the very definition of justice itself. Barron Trump is one of the most recognizable names in the world, yet at the same time, he remains a complete mystery. While most children of political figures find themselves drawn into the public spotlight, Barron has managed to stay almost entirely out of it. Unlike his older siblings, who have embraced media attention and even built their own brands, Barron has chosen, or perhaps been guided, to take a different path. One of the most striking aspects of Barron's public image is how little we actually know about him. He has no public social media presence, rarely makes public statements, and is only occasionally seen at major family events. This lack of exposure has created a paradox. The less people see of Barron, the more curiosity surrounds him. In an era where public figures share nearly every aspect of their lives online, Barron's absence from the digital world makes him even more intriguing. This controlled image is no accident. His mother, Melania Trump, has taken careful steps to ensure that Barron's life remains private, shielding him from the relentless scrutiny that comes with the Trump name. Even during Donald Trump's presidency, when the entire family was under constant media attention, Melania made it clear that Barron was off-limits. Unlike previous first children, who often participated in public events or White House traditions, Barron remained mostly behind the scenes, with only a handful of public appearances. Yet, despite this privacy, Barron's presence still commands attention. Standing at over 6 feet 7 inches tall, he is hard to miss. Every rare public outing, whether it's a family event or simply walking through an airport, sparks conversation. But while the world watches, Barron remains distant, never giving interviews, never making bold statements, and never revealing too much. This quiet demeanor only adds to the fascination. But what is life really like for Barron Trump? Unlike most teenagers, his daily routine is anything but ordinary. With Secret Service protection constantly around him, his movements are carefully planned, and spontaneity is nearly impossible. Whether it's going to school, attending a family function, or traveling, every aspect of his life is meticulously organized for security reasons. His education has been a priority, with his parents ensuring that he receives a top-tier private school experience. While his classmates might enjoy a degree of normalcy, Barron's school days come with heightened security and attention that few could imagine. Simple things like playing sports, going out with friends, or even just walking to class are accompanied by a level of surveillance that separates him from his peers. This structured lifestyle extends beyond school. Unlike other teenagers who can freely explore their interests and make mistakes without the world watching, Barron's actions are constantly analyzed. Whether it's his clothing choices, facial expressions at public events, or even his height, everything about him becomes a topic of speculation. In comparison to past first children, Barron's low profile is unusual. Previous presidential children, like Sasha and Malia Obama, Chelsea Clinton, and the Bush twins, all had their moments in the public eye, whether through interviews, media coverage, or official events. Barron, on the other hand, has remained almost entirely silent. This has led to speculation. Does he prefer it this way, or is his privacy being strictly managed by those around him? The contrast is even more apparent when compared to his father. Donald Trump built his brand by being outspoken, constantly engaging with the media, and dominating headlines. Barron, however, seems to have no interest in any of that. His silence has allowed people to project their own theories onto him. Some see him as a future leader in the making, while others believe he will step away from the political world entirely. Despite the controlled nature of his upbringing, there are small glimpses into his personality. Reports suggest he has an interest in sports, particularly soccer, and that he shares a close bond with his mother. While he has yet to publicly express his future ambitions, it's clear that his upbringing has been carefully curated to allow him as much normalcy as possible, despite the circumstances. Ultimately, Barron Trump's life is a study in contrasts. He is both one of the most famous teenagers in the world and one of the least understood. His lack of public presence has only amplified curiosity, making every appearance he makes a major event. While his father thrives on attention and controversy, Barron remains in the background, an enigma in the Trump family legacy. As he gets older, the question remains: will he eventually step into the public eye? Or will he continue to live in the shadows of his family's name? Only time will tell. But for now, Barron Trump remains one of the most intriguing and elusive figures in modern American history. From the moment Barron Trump was born, he was surrounded by wealth, power, and global attention. But while many children of influential families grow up in the public eye, Barron's life has been shaped by a careful balance between privilege and privacy. His childhood was far from typical, spending his early years in the luxurious Trump Tower before transitioning to one of the most historically significant residences in the world, the White House. Before his father became president, Barron's home was a private, multi-level penthouse in Trump Tower, overlooking the heart of Manhattan. While most children grow up with backyard swings and neighborhood parks, Barron's childhood environment was one of marble floors, gold-trimmed decor, and high-rise views of New York City. His life was secure, structured, and secluded, marked by private schooling, exclusive events, and a staff that ensured his every need was met. Despite these luxuries, his life in Trump Tower was largely insulated from the chaos of public politics. That all changed in 2016. When Donald Trump won the presidency, the world's attention turned to his youngest son, who was just 10 years old at the time. Suddenly, Barron went from a private childhood in New York to being the only child living in the White House, a role no boy had held since John F. Kennedy Jr. Unlike his older siblings, who had already built their careers in business and politics, Barron was still a child navigating an extraordinary situation. While the White House offered unparalleled experiences, historical significance, private movie theaters, and sprawling grounds, it also came with immense restrictions. Living under the constant watch of the Secret Service, every aspect of his daily routine was meticulously planned. Unlike most kids his age, he couldn't just go for a walk or have an impromptu day out with friends. Every outing required security clearances and careful coordination. For many, the idea of living in the White House is a dream. But for Barron, it was a mixed reality, one that granted him both incredible opportunities and a loss of personal freedom. Every step he took, every room he entered, was monitored. While he had the chance to witness history firsthand, he also had to live with the knowledge that his every move could become a headline. Throughout it all, Melania Trump made it her mission to ensure Barron had as normal an upbringing as possible. Unlike many first children, who are often encouraged to take on public roles, Barron remained largely in the background. Melania personally oversaw his education, daily schedule, and even his cultural upbringing, making sure he spoke Slovenian and remained connected to his roots. Her protective nature extended to keeping him away from unnecessary media exposure. While past first children had been frequently seen at public events or participating in White House traditions, Barron was kept out of the spotlight whenever possible. Even in moments where he appeared in public, he remained reserved, often standing quietly beside his parents, avoiding the attention that inevitably followed his father. But shielding him from the spotlight didn't mean shielding him from speculation. In an era where social media amplifies everything, Barron's limited appearances only fueled curiosity. Every rare sighting sparked discussions. His height, his expressions, his body language. Was he enjoying the experience? Did he want to be there? What did he think about his father's presidency? With so little direct insight into his personality, the public was left to fill in the blanks, creating a mix of admiration, speculation, and sometimes even conspiracy theories about his role in the Trump legacy. Balancing privilege and privacy has always been a delicate act. On one hand, Barron had access to resources and experiences few could imagine. He attended top-tier private schools, lived in some of the most secure and prestigious locations in the world, and had the chance to interact with world leaders from a young age. On the other hand, his every move was scrutinized, analyzed, and sometimes unfairly criticized simply because of the family he was born into. Unlike most teenagers, Barron didn't have the freedom to post on social media, casually go out with friends, or live anonymously. His name alone ensured that his life would always be different, shaped not by his own actions, but by the public's perception of his father. Whether he liked it or not, his future was already a subject of discussion. Would he follow in his father's footsteps? Would he enter business or politics? Or would he choose to live a life away from the public stage? The reality of growing up in such an unusual world means that Barron Trump will always carry the weight of his family's name. While he has remained out of the spotlight for now, the question remains: will he continue to stay in the shadows, or will he eventually step into the public eye? As he grows older, the world will be watching to see what path he chooses. But for now, he remains one of the most elusive and intriguing figures in modern political history. As Barron Trump grows older, one question lingers: what's next for him? Unlike his older siblings, who have actively built careers in business and politics under the Trump brand, Barron's future remains uncertain. He has spent most of his life out of the public eye, but as he nears adulthood, the curiosity surrounding his path is stronger than ever. One of the few confirmed aspects of his life is his education. Barron has attended elite private schools throughout his childhood, ensuring he receives the highest level of academic preparation. During his time in Washington, D.C., he was enrolled at St. Andrew's Episcopal School, a break from the long-standing tradition of presidential children attending Sidwell Friends. After leaving the White House, he continued his studies at Oxbridge Academy in Florida, a prestigious school known for its rigorous academic standards. Beyond academics, Barron's fluency in multiple languages adds another layer to his unique upbringing. Thanks to Melania's influence, he speaks Slovenian in addition to English, allowing him to maintain a connection to his European heritage. While it's unclear whether he has pursued other languages, his ability to speak fluently in Slovenian suggests an international perspective that could play a role in his future. But perhaps one of the most talked about aspects of Barron's presence is his height. Towering at over 6 feet 7 inches, he is noticeably taller than his father and most of his family members. This has led to speculation about whether he might pursue a career in sports, particularly basketball. However, despite his athletic build, there is little evidence to suggest that he is actively pursuing a professional sports career. While he has shown interest in soccer in the past, he has remained largely private about any aspirations in athletics. The real question is, does Barron want this life? Growing up as a Trump comes with both extraordinary privileges and overwhelming expectations. His father built an empire on his name, turning it into a global brand associated with wealth, business, and, later, politics. His older siblings have leaned into that legacy, working in various capacities under the Trump Organization and within Donald Trump's political sphere. But what about Barron? Unlike his siblings, Barron has never publicly expressed any political ambitions. He has not given interviews, made public statements, or shown interest in taking on the Trump brand the way his older brothers and sister have. This leads many to wonder, will he choose a different path? Will he embrace the business and political legacy of his family? Or will he step away from the spotlight altogether? Some believe that Barron, like his father, could one day step into a leadership role, whether in business, politics, or a completely different field. His upbringing has given him first-hand exposure to high-stakes decision-making, global affairs, and the inner workings of power. If he decides to follow in his father's footsteps, he will have the resources, connections, and influence to do so. But just because the opportunity is there doesn't mean he will take it. There's also the possibility that Barron may want a life outside of the Trump legacy. He has spent his entire childhood under a microscope, constantly watched and speculated about. He may choose to carve out his own identity away from the family's political battles and public scrutiny. Whether that means pursuing a career in business, law, or even something entirely unrelated to the Trump name remains to be seen. One thing is certain: his last name will always carry weight. No matter what he chooses to do, he will always be recognized as Donald Trump's son. That recognition comes with both opportunities and challenges. If he follows a traditional career path, his name alone will open doors, but it will also bring scrutiny. People will always wonder whether his success is based on merit or the influence of his father. If he steps away from the Trump brand, he may find it difficult to escape the expectations placed upon him. As Barron approaches adulthood, he faces a pivotal moment. Will he continue to stay in the background, maintaining his private and reserved nature? Or will he step into the public eye, embracing the family name and all that comes with it? Only time will tell. But whatever path he chooses, Barron Trump's future will be one that the world watches closely. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've explored. The FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago wasn't just another political headline. It sparked serious debates about privacy, government overreach, and the role of federal agencies in high-profile investigations. The revelation that Barron Trump's bedroom was searched added an unexpected layer to the controversy, raising questions about whether family members of public figures should be subjected to such scrutiny. Beyond the politics, we've also taken a closer look at the unique and often mysterious life of Barron Trump. Unlike his outspoken father, Barron has maintained a quiet presence, rarely seen or heard from in the public sphere. His childhood has been shaped by privilege, but also by intense media speculation. From his early days in Trump Tower to his time in the White House, he has lived in an environment unlike any other, balancing the weight of his last name with the desire for normalcy. His relationship with Donald Trump remains a topic of intrigue. While they share a last name and undeniable public interest, Barron has not followed in the footsteps of his older siblings, who have fully embraced the family's brand. Instead, he has remained in the background, his true ambitions and personality known only to those closest to him. As he grows older, the question remains: will he continue to stay private, or will he eventually step into the spotlight? Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think about Barron's life? Is he just a teenager trying to live as normally as possible, despite his family's political prominence? Or is there more to his story that we've yet to uncover? Will he choose to follow in his father's footsteps, or will he carve his own path, separate from the Trump legacy? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's discuss. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content just like this. Stay tuned for more insights into the lives of the world's most fascinating figures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.